Bursting bubble. Harry and Meghan received very sad news when Netflix cruelly cut off the Sussex contract. The Netflix deal that we learned about in 2020 is thought to be worth about $100 million, but today, according to an insider, Netflix is now feeling like Meghan lives in her own bubble and doesn't seem to be grasping the economic reality of the situation. The goodwill has all but disappeared. There is a much less friendly attitude from the bigwigs at the top. The insider reports that Netflix is unlikely to renew Meghan's Megabucks contract. Spotify has seen the light and so graciously bid the couple goodbye. We are going to be next and do the same. $100 million is a big investment in two people who are becoming less relevant with each passing day across the globe. As I understand it, Netflix has already decided to cancel the airing of The Heart of Invictus. Now, in my opinion, that is the death knell of Meghan and Harry's popularity. What a crying shame, though, that the games were overshadowed by Meghan's wardrobe choices. The contestant heroes got together from around the world to compete, and they had their events stolen by that evil witch. And now Netflix is embarrassed by this whole fiasco, and they're getting ready to pull the plug on any future endeavors with the dastardly duo. In the beginning, Meghan and Harry left their privileged existence in the UK to head to Hollywood. Netflix offered them $100 million to sell their souls, and then Spotify decided to jump in as well. But then they screwed everybody over because they could only make content focused on themselves, and nobody finds them very interesting, other than maybe a few idiotic award givers. And then along came that nonsensical book about Harry's junk that became an international bestseller somehow, and they're still whining and complaining. Are they finished yet? We're still waiting for the real story about why they left. I think it's time to start placing your bets, everybody. All these corporations, though, are for sure going to dump the two of them because they have a smell of Bud Light about them. Corporate America is finally waking up to the reality of the fact that there is no money in supporting the left, and if they do, they're going to go broke. Conservatives hold all the power when it comes to money. Now, Bud Light has really galvanized the middle class all over the world. These companies are so scared, they're trying to run away as quickly as they can. And it looks like the gruesome threesome, I'm talking about Meghan and Marcus and Doria, have been playing Harry for an idiot. They've been wasting all his money and they've been grinding an axe against the royal family since before that sham of a wedding. I'm talking about the one where Harry was simply a side piece to fill the role that he is still playing. He's a little toy soldier and Meghan's having the spotlight all to herself. No father, nobody to walk her down the aisle. All of Harry's friends decided to cut off the two of them too. Now Meghan doesn't have any real friends. Now he's left with nobody except her and that rictus grin on her face. She even went so far as to make sure that King Charles and her father had no place in the aisle with her. Harry didn't have a thing to do with the wedding. The whole affair was simply a celebration of Meghan. The truth is, this relationship has never been about Harry. It's been about the threesome. I'm talking about Doria and Meghan and Marcus. And Meghan always has to be front and center. The other two are simply working behind the scenes. Now, the $100 million from Netflix was contingent on many projects being finished and bringing in viewers. The stuff Meghan and Harry put out was so dull. Unless it was a pack of lies and spilled a lot of made-up secrets, well, apparently nobody cared. Netflix wanted dirt, they wanted gossip. Their show, The Crown, was so mixed in with lies that were never clarified, and they didn't even show any disclaimers with that show. It's pretty easy to see what a sketchy company they really are. Well, Spotify decided they wanted a piece too, and so they made a deal dependent on a certain amount of programming. Their PR teams, whoever they are for the time being, pump them up as successful and hot commodities. They act like they really are these sought-after A-listers. The truth is, Hollywood has shunned them. They are finished. The new team is working non-stop to try to clean up the truth with a false image. And apparently now their PR people are asking Meghan and Harry to please fix their relationships with the family. It is their only source of income. They're wanting Meghan to seem like a woman on the move, to be seen out and about on her phone, acting like she's so busy, like she has so many places to go. They want her to seem like a powerful woman with so many offers and business deals coming in, when the truth is she's a lazy schemer and she couldn't produce any work for more than 2 years. These deals, and I'm including that Dior one too, are about as real as that high-speed car chase through the streets of New York. As if the media really cares about a couple of crazy people who promote illegal drug use to mentally unstable people, claiming that that's the best way to treat mental problems. I mean, we couldn't make this stuff up if we tried. On the other hand, I am hardly a business person, but if I shell out money, I expect a return. Spotify had over a year with the return of a short Christmas podcast, and then absolutely nothing until Megan's stupid Archetypes podcast. Honestly, though, the people at Spotify should have been smarter. They shouldn't have paid Megan and Harry a dime until they actually got some real content. Now, personally, I'm not going to pay for Spotify, and I don't really even listen to podcasts unless they somehow are on my YouTube. And I don't have Netflix either, but unless they have a pay-upon-delivery contract, their return could be even worse. Harry and Meghan try to act like their story is this real love story that has been in front of the cameras the whole time. And where on earth is the heart of Invictus? That's the only project that I would have considered watching. Now, I have a friend and her son has been a participant in Invictus. The rumor now is that that show has been cut. I would believe it. I mean, there were so many meaningful shots of filming that happened, but it could have easily been sacrificed to Meghan's vanity. And about Dior, well, obviously that was never a real thing. Somebody who is celebrated for altering dresses to make them unflattering is never going to be chosen to be the face of a design house. And that gold tube thing in the car chase episode, what was that? I think they should have two clauses. One, required fittings, and two, you cannot mess with our clothing. Oh, and of course, they need to pay upon delivery. I'm sure Netflix is not going to renew their contract because the two of them are con artists, they're grifters. They don't know what a hard day's work looks like. The fact that the content is simply whining and self-serving nonsense that only a few stupid people can relate to means there is no real amount of supporters of the two of them. And that very small number of supporters should be questioning their reality as of right now. And they need to stop trying to bring America's problems over to the UK to cause as much damage as possible. I mean, it's an irrational understanding of the past slave trade in the UK and then current positioning of her imaginative racial inequality in the UK and these perceived attitudes towards her in a few paper headlines by a few very silly people. And it's important to know that these silly people did not and do not represent the entirety of Britain and racial attitudes in Britain. It makes me sick to think about all the stuff, all the disasters Meghan and Harry have left in their wake, all those half-finished projects and their irrational attitudes to try to get sympathy for themselves and also stir up as much trouble as possible to get themselves positioned as higher-leveled royals. They are so desperate for control, they want to be able to say and do whatever they want to when they want to. And if you think that's a little bit far-fetched, please trust me when I say that their machinations were just that, and perhaps even worse, often worse really. Thank goodness they are as dumb as the royal family was onto the game right away, and they were having none of their BS from either of them. Why else would the late queen have let them go like that? Of course, she was never going to agree to this half-in, half-out scenario. That's a bunch of nonsense. Their travel arrangements alone show how inept they really are. I mean, calling up Tyler Perry out of the blue, even though they didn't even know him, to ask him for somewhere to stay? What were they up to? I mean, how pitiful. What, is a hotel not good enough for the two of them? Well, the grift was set up in the UK to try their hand at becoming head-positioned royals, which was never going to happen thanks to the hierarchy. It just shows how neither of them can come up with a sensible thought in their heads. They do not know the rules of the royal household hierarchy, but how? How don't they know that? It's pathetic. I cannot think of a nice thing to say about them at all. They're a couple of grifters, they're whiners, and they're simple-minded one-trick ponies. And in spite of all that, they try to convince the world they're a couple of humanitarians? Yeah, right. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.